8,500 acres of solar panels in the center of Wisconsin.
Wildlife Federation's The Hide.
Welcome back, everyone, and very special honored guest of the show, George Meyer, a staple of conservation here in Wisconsin, and relatively newly elected member to the Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame. It's only been a couple years, right?
It has.
All right. So it's newly, right?
Yes.
Well, here in 2024, we have a fairly significant event happening right now, right? The Vista Sand Solar Project in the central part of the state around Plover is roughly 8,500 acres of solar panels right smack dab in the middle of
the Buena Vista wildlife area and the threatened greater prairie chicken habitat.
So a lot of people, unless you live in this area, might not even know about this right now. Really?
That's true. And this is a huge project. If people aren't familiar with solar facilities, you see them, places across the state. Well, this is much larger than any project there is in the state and the country. I'll make it very clear. Wisconsin Wildlife Federation supports renewable energy and solar projects. But this 8,500 acres, and it's next to an already existing project of 1,500 from a different company. So in this area generally, there's going to be 10,000 acres of solar arrays literally on some of the lands that are greater prairie chicken habitat.
And not only with the greater prairie chicken, it's overall significant change to the landscape and the demographics. I mean, we have a couple significant wildlife areas right here in the neighborhood.
Right. In fact, in many, many of those acres are directly abutting the land that's owned by the Dane County Conservation League, Conservation Lands, Wisconsin Society for Ornithology, and the Deep Department's property that makes up the Buena Vista wildlife area. So there's this issue with the prairie chickens that we can talk more about, but also the hunting. If you think about it, if you're a hunter out there, all of a sudden surrounding where you're going to be shooting are going to be solar arrays. Most responsible hunters are going to be pretty nervous. In fact, are taught not to fire towards that type of structures. So it's going to have a dampening effect of the use of for just general hunting, whether it's coyote or deer or whatever.
Sure, turkey, deer, coyote.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I think this is almost a unique role that the Federation is playing as an intervener. And maybe what you could do is kind of touch on how that role is so important and what an intervener really is.
And this is really unusual for us. The Public Service Commission has jurisdiction of authorizing this, and they have a public hearing process, but it isn't a normal type of hearing where you go have people come up to a mic and talk and whatever. This is just like a court trial, and there's going to be witnesses, and people are sworn in. There's exhibits. People can be cross-examined, and we're volunteering to do this. We've never done this before, but we feel there's so much at stake in protecting the sportsman's interest in this wildlife area, but also protecting a very valuable species, the threatened greater prairie chicken.
Significantly, there's been a lot of money that has been put towards the greater prairie chicken by the department and other private entities that potentially this could have some fairly significant impact.
We're talking about, in terms of property value of conservation land, we're talking $10 million at least worth of land that'll be affected, plus the management cost every year to manage the wildlife area. And for prairie chickens, they don't tolerate shrubs and trees. So, we spend a lot of time there taking out the brush and everything. And that's been going on for decades. And that's at risk of being lost.
So, what people don't realize is, aside from the fact that 10,000 acres roughly of almost contiguous in some shape acreage, there's a lot of concrete and steel. There's a fence that's required to be
Yes.
around here, right?
On the northern end of it, right by Highway 54, literally, there is a 7.5 miles worth of fence. Now, there are breaks in the fence there's some town roads, 3 or 4, but basically, when the deer try to move through that area, they're going to see a very, very imposing fence. So it's really going to have an impact on whether those deer are going to be moving.
Absolutely. I mean, migration corridors in this block are going to be significantly changed and altered for no less than probably 30 years.
Yes. The life expectancy for these types of structures are about 30 years.
And then, after 30 years, the landowner is required are they required to remove the solar panels and the concrete, or is it just left up to them, or is the coordinator?
Why, it's a company. Now, many of these solar projects, the developer sells them to a power company. Mm-hmm. This company, Doral, will manage it themselves. So they'll have the legal responsibility to take it out at that time.
So realistically, what are we looking at for a timeline here?
Well, we have to start preparing our testimony. We're going to have to call 7 or 8 expert witnesses, and we have to file testimony. They'll get the rebut and all that. And then the public hearing, which will be like a trial kind of hearing, will take place in August. And by statute, the Public Service Commission has to make a decision by the end of January, or the project will be automatically approved. Okay. So that's the deadline for this. Now, what we're seeking is about a half-mile buffer between the public, from all the conservation lands, whether it's the DCCL land or the Wisconsin Ornithology Organization, and the DNR lands, and where the arrays start, because of the booming grounds, the leks for the prairie chickens go off in that area, even off the state lands. They use some of the agricultural lands in spring before they're planted.
Sure. It's going to be interesting to how this all shakes out. And I think, the Federation is poised to be a leader in how this all comes to play.
It is. And I mean, we realized pretty early, if we don't do it, nobody will be in a position to do it. And that's where we're stepping up. It's going to take a lot of time and money to do this, but if not us, there is no one.
Well, George, we're here, it's the Federation's 75th anniversary. And realistically, George, you've been here for a good portion of it. Of the 75 years, you've been here for 74 and a half. Just kidding. But, realistically, George, you're over 20 years fully vested in this organization.
But I tell you, if you go back through the history of the Federation, there have been outstanding volunteer leaders during that time. And, it started in 1949. And during that years, several, as an example, several of the board members and presidents are in the Wisconsin Conservation Hall of Fame. That's the kind of leadership that started this organization.
Well, you know what? We have Cody here. Cody's quite a bit younger than both of us, and he has grabbed the reins and he's started his, legacy as executive director. And hopefully Cody can have a fantastic and great successful career, as the executive director. But George, in the meantime, thank you for everything that you have done for the Federation in your time with it. But most importantly, all the things that you have done for conservation in Wisconsin, because, the next year you are going to earn your keep tenfold.
I thought I could retire someday, but
Yeah.
it's not look promising here.
Not in the next 12 months. You're here
That's
to
right.
stay. Well, again, George, thank you so much. Thanks, Chase Baker, for taking the reins behind the camera, making sure George is looking fantastic. And listen, Chase, this wouldn't happen without you. And thank you for everything that you do for conservation. So for the Wisconsin Wildlife Federation's 75th anniversary, thanks, everyone. Take care.